We're gonna make a tier list about Mechlord's tier list while I eat cake. Mechlord's cake, to be precise. Play.
My dual-taining is the real deal.
Hey everyone, it's Mechlord.
It's Mechlord.
This is my last video before I go away for the Paris Games
Mechlord has been drafted
from November 1st to November 5th.
He's actually crashing on my couch. That's why he can't make videos.
The game that I've been marketing and community manager for almost a year now. So
is it loud enough?
Really cool, really amazing time, and
I fucking hope so.
I'm not gonna be able to record or produce any type of video. So this is an insight from the past to the future.
Okay. I should be
and
loud
hopefully,
enough.
if I'm wrong, I can just pretend that I didn't know any better and that this isn't my fault. So before we
blame Mechlord. It's always his fault.
I think are the most relevant in the upcoming format for the upcoming KC Cup, which I think is going to start right when the Paris Games Expo starts up.
Imagine not thinking Duel Links is more important than your real job, so you're won't miss.
I'm going to make a tier list.
The Paris Expo to play a shit Duel Links format.
This is why you should be playing or not playing these decks. I'm gonna zoom a little actually. So
don't zoom out. Zoom back out, Mechlord. This shot looks worse now.
These are in all alphabetical order except for Lightwing and Altergeist for some reason. Just gonna quickly start with a reminder of my definition of tiers that changes every time.
My definition of tiers. Let me give you my definition of tiers. A tier is a stratum of quality that you place in linear order to determine the quality of one item relative to other items. So true.
The best decks, the best that are going to see the most representation.
Let them eat cake, yeah. Let them eat ass.
Cup. The one that you should be preparing for, like main-decking options.
Don't prepare for the KC Cup. Go outside and play. So tier 1 is shit you should be preparing for.
Options too. I feel like the one that
So you should definitely prepare for comp
that are also very strong and are going to be also popular. Possibly even winning this KCC. Not as much as a concern as the tier 1 decks, because they just lack. They mostly don't have. Sometimes they don't have a good matchup against the tier 1 decks. Sometimes they just miss that.
Very hilarious that D heroes disappeared. Yeah, that's the fucking power of the limit 3. Like the only thing that changes is you can't play 3 fucking Ice Dragons, Prisoner, Warning Point
together because I'm lazy.
Or fucking
Tier 3 and
Crackdown.
Rogue basically mean the same thing too.
This is something I wanted to talk about in the video. I'm so glad Mechlord put Tier 3 and Rogue in the same thing, because the truth that no one wants to hear is there's no fucking such thing as Tier 3. It doesn't exist. There's Tier 1, Tier 2, Rogue, Playable, dog shit. And Playable and Rogue are basically, like, kind of the same thing, because, like, Rogue decks are only Rogue decks because they aren't tiered, but they're still like playable enough to sneak into tournaments. So like that's like really all there is. It's tier 1, the undisputed best decks in the format. They will take significant portions of top cuts at events. Tier 2 are decks that are clearly much weaker than tier 1, but more so than any other decks below them. Have game against the top deck without being as consistently threatening as the top deck. And tier 3 is shit that is just much worse than tier 1 that doesn't have the ability to go over the top of tier 2 decks to have some level of game against the top deck. And Rogue is just like the same shit as what I just said. So Rogue and tier 3 are exactly the same. And then Playable is just shit that has a cohesive game plan. Like fucking... I would say a good example of a playable deck is probably something like fucking Tunes. Tune is playable. It doesn't have a good matchup against tier 1 or anything that has a good matchup against tier 1, and it sure as shit is not as good as something like a Rogue deck I would consider. Something like Salaman Great, S-Force, Geist. It's way weaker than that, but it does have a defined win condition that can win games, and therefore it's playable. And then tier 2 is just shit that is not as good as tier 1, but is like clearly better than everything below it.
Decks that are going to see play are going to be a bit popular. Maybe
that's just my own take. If I really wanted to expound on that, I'd make my own tier list, but I would rather genuinely fucking shove my hand in a pot of boiling jelly than make a fucking tier list.
Tier 3 deck. It's not... I don't know, people are still torn on whether or not it's really good. I think it has.
I think it's not good.
potential that
The
hasn't
fact
been
that the trap
revealed
deck
to
can't run
us
3 copies of the best
idiots
traps in
yet,
the
so
game
it's
is
a deck
kind of a
that
huge
takes a lot of
deal.
skill to play and perform well with.
I do agree with what
Two
he says
things going
later in the
against
video,
it,
though.
It's very reactive rather than proactive. It's certainly capable of making like pushes for lethal and really cool stuff. But at the
Hexy
same
is a sick
time,
card,
it's
too.
game plan, and it's really hard to outvalue your opponent when by just clicking activating skill they get so much advantage, you know? The second thing going against it is that it's a control deck, and games with it tend to be rather long, so
The thing I noticed
it's
about
probably
Geist
not ideal.
is it's slow enough of
Has
a
anyone
control
done
deck
the
that it
same in
accidentally
S
gives your
category
opponent
where
time to get
breach
back
Drag
into the
Pro is-
game.
Yeah, some people have tried that. It's like I said, people haven't figured out what's the best way of playing Altergeist is. Is it? I've seen in Grandarius Tourney Witch of the Black Forest into Magical Dimension, you know? I've seen people play Duality. I've seen people
I think Duality's
just
bad,
play whatever.
now that I've played the deck
Maybe
a little
the
bit.
best way to play Altergeist is to not even play Protocol.
I agree
Maybe
with
it's
this.
to play 1 for Melee, so you click it away for Link.
I agree. I think Mechlord's onto something. I think 1 for 1 is super good because, like, Protocol isn't fucking searchable. So in a majority of your games, you're not going to draw it until you already have your resource loop going. And who gives a shit if you draw Protocol after you draw fucking after you draw Multifaker? You've already got your Multifaker Silquitas loop going. So it's like totally irrelevant, and I would prefer playing a card that gets me to my resource loop faster. Protocol is obviously a good card, but at 1 copy, I'd rather play 1 for 1.
Get the Faker, set 2 traps fast.
Am I gonna finish this
Issues
video?
with
Because I
Duel
finished
for
my
some
cake.
reason.
I'm
It's
just gonna be
tier 1.
sitting here.
One of the best decks of the format still. The new box didn't change much because BLS wasn't already losing to like the
New box would have changed something if they didn't introduce Effect Veiler in the same box as a deck that doesn't have any extenders and loses to Effect Veiler, the normal summon.
box had Effect
Which is
Veiler.
very funny.
BLS doesn't care all that much about Effect Veiler. It's still really strong. It's still one of these decks that require you to play outs and graveyard control tools. But dude, I don't know. It's just still the best deck. It's insane that you can still plus every turn with this, and there's no archetype in the game currently that can beat that.
I mean, I disagree. I have a pretty positive BLS win rate. But like on the strength of its training wheels alone, Blackluster Soldier, if put it this way, and I think this is what something Mechlord would agree with, to beat Blackluster Soldier, you have to draw well because your cards are what win you the game. Blackluster Soldier don't really even need to draw well or play fucking good cards to win the game, because all it takes is one generic tech card, and then suddenly you're one Blackluster Soldier away from getting fucking killed into the sun or having your entire field shuffled away.
Blue Eyes is a copium deck.
Blue Eyes, the skill fucking sucks. Stop playing the new Blue Eyes skill. It's bad. Play Ultimate Dragons. It's so much fucking better.
Is a nostalgia boost.
Rank 8 Turbo Blue Eyes absolutely has some unexperimented, untapped potential, but like new skill Blue Eyes does fucking nothing.
Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's a secret way of playing Blue Eyes that...
The secret way of playing Blue Eyes is Ultimate Dragons and just making rank 8s every turn. Or rather, that's what I was thinking before I realized you could only summon fucking Alt Dragon once per turn.
Not good.
This deck
Blue Eyes only good
sucks.
for ladder, and Blue Eyes not a good...
I will disagree when someone says X is good only for ladder. I've got bad news. KC Cup ladder is even less competitive than Legend rank, so you can definitely make it to Legend Max with any fucking dog shit you find it stuck to your fucking shoe.
Even if the
it's stage 2 that you got to be worried about, which I think
deck
I'm sure this is what Mechlord's actually talking about, but I have too much shit to do in my life to be playing stage 2 of KCC.
Fibrous Clock Dragon, I think, is one of the most promising decks of
It's not a promising deck, it's a promising skill. Please understand, decks have cards in them. The yellow button is not part of a deck. It's the training wheels on the side of the deck.
First, you make Bolo plus Duplexer Chimera plus set any amount of backrow that you have.
Plus set even. Damn, that's crazy. You're telling me this deck can set compulsory evacuation device? Crazy. I hate this is where we are in Duel Links. It's a great deck because it can kill you in 1 turn and also set back row going first. How interesting. This game sucks.
in terms of
Oh, also you can
the
FTK
skill
with this
doing
deck.
so much
It's
for
not
you,
consistent, but if I play Clock FTK,
first,
if I
it's
play
the
Clock Dragon, I will
switcheroo
play the
that
FTK
gets you the
because I think
2
it's
cards
funny.
that you need to combo. Then it changes, any token into stack revive.
This is so fucking funny. Just turn your token into an effect monster that revives a monster.
And
Just fucking
then
turn your monsters into
the
dragon
third
types
power
for
skill, okay,
free.
make Bowler for free.
God, it's so fucking
plus
brain
switch
dead,
thing.
dude.
Makes both
This
of
is
them.
why I hate
And then you
anime
can
fans,
slowly
because
start
they're
to
making
get
Duel
the
Links
other thing out
worse.
of the field,
I
as
like
long as you
the
don't
game
get
is worse
any
because
Bowler,
skills like this exist.
in the
Ugh.
DMZ. It's like,
I don't
it's
care how much you like
really,
Cock
really
Dragon. Just fucking go. Just log on to
It's a
E621
really
if you want Cock
deck.
Dragon that bad.
I really
Don't
like
stop
it.
infecting my fucking card game
I think
with
it's
your
one of these decks
disease.
that's pretty much streamlined in terms of the core. Obviously, I'm gonna play 3 Clock Wyverns, 2 Fusions, Link Slayer is insane as a way to.
I only have 2
like,
Link
remove
Slayers, so I have to get
potential
the structure deck if I
threats.
want to play this. All right, let's fast forward.
Radiant is like
Wait, I'll just fucking speed up the
pretty
video.
decent in my
I'm
opinion,
unlocking the
pretty
secret
biased.
of fucking reaction.
DDD. I don't know between these two. Let's see, it's more likely.
DDD is the
Yeah,
shittest
good,
deck in
good,
all of
good,
Duel
good.
Links because it's a combo
But it's
deck
Slip
that's
Slap.
main
It's
combo
like
is hope
it's
to
like
draw
the
back
control.
row. That's
And
fucking
put the
pathetic.
deck, it gets you to draw 3 cards.
Damn, what a nice combo deck. You drew the card that searches Lancia. Cool combo.
Kepler.
DDD's fucking
any
pathetic in
second.
Duel Links.
But you have the
Now it's
Genghis.
Dark Dragon
Yeah,
type monster.
that's one disruption taken care of. That's cool. What's your game plan? I go Unga Bunga, Cool. That's also what BLS and every other deck does this format. This deck sucks. The one thing that
The one thing this deck has going
Probably
for
there.
it
right
is nothing.
probably there. I
It's
don't
so
like this.
fucking funny how
No,
shit
it's
Dust Destiny
like,
Hero
okay, one
became
format that's, like,
just
very,
because it can't get carried by back row.
focused around exactly BLS. So people are going to play cards and answer that deal with BLS specifically. Abyss Dweller, Artifact Lancia, DD Crow.
I will say Mechlord is coping out of his mind. Fucking Abyss Dweller does not answer BLS. It exclusively stops the ritual spell engrave, but bad news. They normal summon Endymion, shuffle back the fucking card they don't need, and then they fucking special summon vanilla BLS and deal you 4,300 fucking damage over the Dweller. Who the
Next
fuck is
hero
playing
loses
that
all of these
DDD
cards.
dog shit? Anime
They just
freaks.
reduced to all of these cards. It's insane how bad this deck is.
It's crazy that Mechlord
Like,
put DDD on this list, but not
cool.
PK, because they're both
Very
shitty
cool. A single
mini
card
box
plus that is
era
not good enough.
Arc V decks
advantage
that
scale that
have
trades
were on the
for
ban
back
list and
row
then got
every
off
single
it.
day. It's like, if this
And I
was-
do
like,
think
I
Phantom Knights are much
like
better
it
than
here,
DDD,
right?
but like
They
they're
normal
still
summon
shit.
trades.
I'm
But I'm
shocked
gonna
that
put it there.
Gandora
But
is
realistically,
fucking
But I'm
unplayably
gonna
penis.
put it there. But in reality,
Because like
it's there.
it's
Putting it
the
there.
single best vehicle
fact
for
it's like-
Orcust now,
Probably there, right?
and it's just not fucking good
before or
enough.
after Altergeist? I don't know. Probably before Altergeist. It has a better matchup against BLS, probably. Definitely.
I think
But
Infinitrack
also,
is
start
fucking
going
mid as
against
shit.
Neos
The
Wiseman
only thing
specifically.
that impressed me of the time
And-
I dueled it
Yeah, Neos
was
Wiseman
that
is
they,
like-
after
no,
stalling for a
no, no,
turn
no,
with
no,
like
no,
defense position
not
monsters
better than
and
formats. Infinitrax
the fucking
in Archetype removal
Floodgate
is
graveyard
targeted
skill,
disruption.
sealed tombs, they shuffled
targeted
back
box
their
is like the
link
disruption
monsters
box,
and
right?
popped off on turn
It's-
3, which is
it's
cool,
like
but
the
like if you're
flow
talking about
target
a
box,
deck that
Wiseman,
stalls
it's not
going
good.
first so it can kill
ICP
you
is not
go
even that great,
on turn 3,
because I don't
then
think
like
you can
we're looking at
summon
2
Neos
decks that
Wiseman
do the
ICP,
exact same
which is like
thing.
the only
And why would you play a
card that
worse
banishes
version of those 2
Wiseman,
decks?
because, fun fact, Kludger and Wiseman are both spellcasters, not warriors, not fiends.
Kludger,
spellcasters,
I hardly know her.
which means that IDP is really not good against this.
Hey
The
Cam,
core
welcome to the
protection that
stream. Hello from Grey J.
Infinitrax
Welcome.
establishes, right? A untargetable
I was eating a
cannot
slice
be
of
killed by card
cake,
effect.
and so now
Right?
we're
That
talking
type
about a
of
tier
vibe
list
that
because
you
I
bring to a
didn't
duel,
think I'd finished my
Neos-
cake before Mechlord was done talking about BLS.
Probably the weakest tier 1 deck, but still a tier 1 deck. It's still very powerful. I haven't shown
That's
that
so
before, so
crazy.
maybe
Like,
I'm
if
overdoing
this
it.
is this where
It's
Duel Links
definitely
is, all the
gonna be
best
kind of
decks are
difficult
decks
to
that are full of dog shit cards, but have the most
That's
powerful
very
training
true.
wheels in
That is true.
existence.
But then, Crackdown is like
This is
the
like
best answer.
you're in a
Like,
motorcycle
Crackdown
club,
doesn't deal with
or you're in
mirrors,
like
normal
you're a
summon,
fucking
substitute quality.
Tour de France competitor,
I guess you
and
can
like
the elements
they're
of here.
talking
yeah.
about who's
Drag,
most
place,
likely to win,
vanilla on your field.
and you got all the most
Soldiers.
jacked fucking
Yeah.
riders on the most
Can
expensive
you
bikes,
grade
and then
your
you're
names
like, but they just can't
rather
compete with these
consistently, and that's
people.
good enough to deal
And then
with
there's the
BLS.
top 3 competitors,
And
and they're all fucking out of shape,
that's their niche.
breathing heavily,
but those
their
shows
bikes
the
are
war
falling
points
apart, but they got the
with the,
sickest pair,
pennies to sell.
highly advanced, tricked out
One of
fucking
those good
training
draws
wheels on the
is
side,
formats,
and they're like,
I feel
it's
I
just
feel
you just
like
can't beat them.
It's neat, but it's not that neat. Magic Key, it's really hard to evaluate Magic Key because I haven't read a single Magic Key card to this
It's
day.
really hard to
Besides, one of the best
to
decks
to
on the format. I think,
fucking
like, Magic Key
say how
goes
good Magic Key
crazy,
is because
and
no one wants to
people
pull it. They just
start
want to
to
pull
learn
live
this
twins, so they're resetting
deck
before they get
does.
the URs to
They're gonna
play
start
this
to
shit
technical
deck.
as well. It's
Saudi
it seems
yesterday,
really good on
bit
paper.
underwhelming,
It has gotten one
unfortunately. Yeah.
So maybe
Hopefully
I'll
we
use
get
some,
like
like,
actually
magic,
not
like,
miserable
secretly
DDD
insane.
cards, so the deck
I
feels
think
like an
Magic is,
actual
like,
deck.
secretly really good. Rockets. Where do we put Rockets?
I think Rockets are like the tier
Rockets
2
is
deck.
probably there or there. It's probably one of the best tier 3 decks and one of the weakest tier 2 decks.
It's
think
kind of
Rockets is
crazy
pretty
that
strong in
the
tier
deck
2.
is still good.
Rockets
I
is
think
not
Rocket
strong,
feels
But at
incredibly
the end of the day,
mid
it's
to
still
play.
insane.
The reason it's good is the same reason
Uh,
S-Force is
gets to
good.
plus
That's a
more
total
powerful, which is
lie.
really
But
funny
what
for
I'm
second round,
saying
like,
is the
because we have
fact that you
formats.
can
No, probably
activate
not that
your
because we have like
starter's effect
But
in response to your
still,
opponent trying to
Rockets
remove
still
it
pretty good against
and
most
get
of these
advantage
builds,
that
right?
way. The difference is
Anyway,
Rocket also
Rockets.
has like
A lot of like versatile
the
plays
free
you can make,
space
and a
to
lot of,
play
like,
more
they can have the
text
newest mentioned
and
dual
isn't
borders.
super
They
reliant
can
on
outspeed pretty much
opening a
everything,
specific
and they can
starter.
everything on the card back
Because
button
even if you
quickly.
open like dog
They
shit,
can
you can
sort
still
of
like
dodge
needle
this stuff
sealing your way
without
into an
extra
advantageous
tracer being
position.
stupid. It's still a really good deck, even though it hasn't got any new tricks.
It's kind of like crazy that
Salamangreat.
Rocket's just been around since launch. I will say I think
No,
Salamangreat is
no,
better
no,
than
no,
fucking
I
Rockets.
forgot
That's a
Salamangreat.
lie. I think
Good.
Salamangreat is
It's fine.
better
Salamangreat is
than
bad.
Infinitrack. It's
Stop
better
saying
than
that Salamangreat
Geist,
is
and I think
good.
it's better than
It is not.
fucking
It's an archetype that
the fucking
specializes in
thing.
generating
The
card
reason
advantage,
it's
and
worse
if
is
anything in the long run,
exclusively because you
can't
have to
generate
decide
such
between
content as
text
the
and
best skill in the game,
consistency.
so what's
But
the
if you
point?
don't play Lady Debug, you've got 5 slots
It's
for
probably the
text,
one
which
of
is
the
pretty good. That's
At least I make
25% of your
Abyss Dweller,
deck
and Abyss Dweller
that is
still
non-engine.
good. Abyss Dweller is also pretty neat, you know.
But the problem is if you're maxing out on consistency, you only have 3 books of Moon to draw in, in addition of your
Not an
combo.
access code, but like a way
And
to
like
play
sometimes you
things
just
better
don't run into a
and
matchup
do
that Dweller
something
does
that's a little
anything
more
against.
impressive
And
or
like what are you gonna
because
do?
unlike
Play
what
fucking
Dweller
Roach? I
has,
don't think so. Giant hand?
maybe
Hell
even
no.
better. It feels like weak tier 3 Copium tier. I'm gonna get yelled at if I put in Copiums, I'm gonna put in tier 3. S-Force. Is the new S-Force support good?
The new X-Force
Is it capable of,
support is crazy.
Beating the top tier decks?
Yes.
I think so, because the deck is really fucking annoying, and I hate facing it.
I mean, literally,
we
we lost, and we lost to fucking. We didn't lose to BLS. We lost to fucking. You're not losing to BLS and S Force. Let me put it this way: you're losing to compulsory evacuation device and fucking whatever the and Dark Hole. So like, I would say you have a pretty good matchup into everything in the known universe. Both Rockets and D Heroes have 1 limit 3, which is even funnier. No, see, that's another advantage of Rockets is you only need 1 Silver Rocket because no one fucking plays Odd Eyes anymore.
Maybe I'm completely wrong on this.
Although, wait, that's so funny. You can just rip the 1 Neos Clugger out of the fucking extra deck. That's hilarious.
Speed Droids like Copium as well. Right, this is Speed Droids, by the way. Crystal Wing, this is actually meant to represent Speed Droids. So Speed Droids is ass. Speed Droids is an ass deck. Speed Droids is not good.
I have no idea if Speed Droids is good or bad, but like, it's
Speed
whatever.
Droids is not a good
I mean, I'm not worried
It
about
is
Speed
not.
Droids. I guess because in the
it's
best case scenario,
Speed
I
Droids
mean,
gets fucked against
is
it.
it really that much worse than other shit? If your best case scenario is Crystal Wing,
probably
set
like
back row and pass, that's better than the
there,
fucking
but
BLS
let's
turn
go.
1. The difference is the
It's still
skill.
probably
I think Tinyu is definitely
one of the
tier
better decks of the
2.
The 3FX nerfs didn't do that much to deck viability. I mean, I actually did a lot, but
And they got the new fucking skill. Yeah, Tinyu is... The weakness of Tinyu is if you're choosing to not play
I think playing
back row removal, you only have one piece of removal, and it's spell speed 1 and it targets. So it's kind of rough. Speed Wards lose to back row. Speed Wards lose to... I mean, everything kind of loses to back row. I just stopped respecting Cosmic, so yeah, back row decks are good.
So, I don't know. It's probably there.
I'm glad that this deck is not like dog shit tier, because I think Ursardic is super cute. I like Polari a lot. I like the stupid robots. They're fun.
In the hands of really, really good players, which I'm not, obviously.
All right, that's very interesting. Stop talking about that.
Life Twin is like tier 1, right? Life Twin is like...
Life Twins are tier 1, right? No, and I'll tell you why. They are significantly weaker than BLS. I think BLS is alone in tier 1 right now. But I will change that if we see Live Twin get a significant portion of tops. I know they have been getting a lot of tops, but I just think they're so much weaker than Blackluster Soldier, and they actually do lose to Effect Veiler because we don't have the extenders. If you Effect Veiler the normal summon, they have to result to Live Twin Home, the quick play spell, which discards a card, and since Effect Veiler leaves the monster on the field, they don't get to plus off that monster. So the whole point of Live Twin is their combo draws you a card, right? And if you ever put them into a situation in which they're not able to +1 off their combo, they're just ending on 1 pop on your turn and an 1100 idiot. And if they're playing the search spell to get to the extender, that means they aren't searching something like Present to interrupt your combos. Now the problem is, or the reason that this deck is not like destroyed by Effect Veiler is because not many people are playing it. Because spoiler alert, I think Effect Veiler is super bait this format. Like what loses to Effect Veiler like up here? I'm not seeing anything below like dog shit tier before fucking infant fetus anime roleplay tier that loses to Veiler. So people are gonna play it less, which means you're not gonna lose to Effect Veiler as often. And you also dodge Lancia, which people are playing. So that is important. But also going second, the deck has a super rough time into back row. If you have 2 pieces of relevant back row, you probably win the game. If you have 1 Book of Moon, you probably win. I mean, if they have an extender, they can just still make the Link monsters. But I think Live Twin is a great deck. It's just way weaker than BLS to the point where I don't feel comfortable putting it in the same tier.
It's insane how good the Sunny results for this deck has been. It's an insanely consistent.
Consistent is true. It's
That
super
pluses
consistent.
1 during that first turn.
But again, if you have a Vect Veiler, you've completely erased their ability to go +1.
Is able to play a ton of back row because they just draw cool stuff. The stuff that they
Please
need.
give us the fucking
have
extenders.
set-
They're gonna print them in the fucking
print
selection
system,
box. That's something I genuinely believe.
disruption.
I think we're gonna get
And then
Kiss a
the
Kill
point is,
Frost
you
as a
don't just
UR,
Incremax
Sunny's
that
Snitch
you
as a
can
UR,
start to deal with.
and Lilitreat as an
It's like,
SR
when
in the
would you give
fucking
them
main
that?
next
It's
in the
not
7th main
such an
selection
annoying deck
box.
to beat over and to defeat
I want to
right game.
die.
And the one thing that it has going against
I'm
it,
so
though,
mad I
is
can't play this
clean up,
deck.
like,
I just
this
want to
card
play
just
Live
needs,
Twin
like,
so
almost
fucking
Pacific
bad.
Lila, not the greatest card, but it's also a summoning area. It's still a very capable deck.
I think
It's
this
not
is like the exact example of a rogue tier deck. Like it's consistent. It can and it has a dedicated game plan. This is actually a good idea of what separates like rogue decks from like tier 3 decks.
Button again.
This deck can end on a quick effect pop and a flexible graveyard floodgate if they make a dweller, or a floodgate for high level monsters like a Roach. Like if you make Roach against BLS, they just cannot make Envoy of the Beginning against you, which is very important because if you stop them from making Envoy of the Beginning, then they're going to have to go into your BLS that summons or that shuffles all your cards back. And if you end on the Volfernages, you just get to pop that before they do anything. And all you have to do is play through back row. So it has things it can do that specifically beat high tier decks while also not being even remotely near as good as them, which is what separates a rogue deck from a playable deck. I think this is rogue. I think its consistent game plan has a win. Its dedicated game plan has a consistent enough win condition that will give it game against higher tier decks while also not being better than those higher tier decks. I think most everything below this deck in terms of my perceived viability, they each have a consistent game plan. Maybe not Blue Eyes. I don't know what the fuck you're doing with Blue Eyes. I guess stalling and then Chaos Max, but that's not a real win condition. Each of these decks have a game plan. Trickstars have a control game plan. Speedwards have a combo game plan. D Hero have a mid-range game plan. Not fucking this thing either. And Gandora Orchest has a game plan. All of these have game plans that can win you games. They're just not nearly as powerful as the things above them. Each of, maybe not so much Infinitrax. I would put Infinitrax in playable rather than Rogue. I think each of these, for the most part, same with, I think S-Force, Altergeist, Salamangreat, and Pendulum all have game plans that will win you the game. Not a necessarily majority of the time against all the decks that are above them, but enough of the time that it makes them worth climbing with. Also worth climbing with is, never mind, I was going to make a joke. I have to take a shit. That's a good video, MechLord. I'm a big fan of your content. Go subscribe to MechLord if I upload this on YouTube. I'm going to shit and then we're going to fucking play more Duel Links.